Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with this week's episode of the Friday Night Magic Spotlight. This week, a lot of you have been asking me to try an Eldritch Evolution deck in Standard, so this is going to be my take on an Eldritch Evolution, kind of taking off of the old Collective 4-Color Collective Company deck that Seth Manfield ran last season. I think he actually won a Grand Prix with this, or top 8 a few, I can't remember, but he did quite well with a Collected Company route. And I'm going to actually not use Collected Company in this deck, as I don't think it has room for Eldritch Evolution and Collected Company. And it also gives us more of a toolbox feel. So I started with just the shell of the Coco deck, the 4-color Coco deck that tries to use Eldrazi Displacer to do some shenanigans with Brood Monitor and Zulaport Cutthroat. So that combo is still in here. So if you get Eldrazi Displacer and Brood Monitor and Zulaport Cutthroat out, that is an infinite combo off of the Brood Monitors with also infinite damage from the Zulaport Cutthroat. So we have that going for us. Of course, I've got to throw in my favorite card out of Eldritch Moon, which is probably the Big Pig, otherwise known as the Decimator of Provinces. This card has a ton of synergy in the deck because it can just win the game out of nowhere with the amount of tokens that we can generate, and can actually be tutored with Eldritch Evolution off of either Distended Mindbender or an Elder Deep-Fiend. So we're going to run a ton of one-ofs in this deck. Let me just sort this by converted mana cost to show what it looks like. So we're running 23 lands, probably skipping on, 24 is probably the right number, but I wanted to include one more card, so I cut a forest at last minute. And this is almost the mana base that Seth Manfield have for his specific deck, but for this one, we're going to run some to make our colorless sources for Thought-Knot Seer, and for Reality Smash to the sideboard, as well as Eldrazi Displacer, we have a One of Wastes, which I think is just another thing we can tutor up with our Primal Druids or the Pilgrim's Eyes. But we also have the two Caves of Koilos, the 4 Llanowar Wastes, and the 2 Yavimaya Coasts. Blue is something that I'm a little bit iffy about, but I think it's worthwhile to have the Reflector Mage Eldrazi Displacer combo in the deck. I think it's just incredibly powerful. So we'll get to that in a second. So we're just going to basically run enough basic lands to be able to cast Big Pig, be able to cast Elder Deep-Fiend, and be able to cast Distended Mindbender, because the cost is not reduced off of Emerge. The colorless cost cannot be reduced. So anyway, we're going to run 3 Westvale Abbeys because that's going to be one of our win cons in the deck. Also, Thermal Thing is everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere, because it is a budget deck. Quite easy to build. There's a few different routes that you can make it. You can go Thing of the Ice. You can go my version with Reality Smasher. The red aggro decks are very, very good right now. They can beat up on the ramp decks because the ramp decks are just too slow before the visions or the just burn-based decks just beat them down. So anyway, this deck is going to have Westvale Abbey to combat that. Usually if you get a Westvale Abbey off, their only hope is like an Unsubstantiate, or if they can flip their Thing in the Ice. But a lot of times you just you play around that. And if you can get in for 9 points of damage with the Prince, usually that's enough to stabilize you. I mean, that's half your starting life total, just about half your starting life total. So this is also going to have a lot of similarities towards kind of an Emerge deck. We're going to run our 2 cards that want to be killed, which is Primal Druid and Matter Reshaper. So we're running a 4 of Primal Druid. They have really good synergy with the Eldritch Evolution. So the first thing that we want to see is like a turn 2 Primal Druid into a turn 3 Eldritch Evolution to go get the Thought-Knot Seer and kind of eat their hand away. And then that just kind of sets us up in the beatdown route. And that does ramp us as well with the Primal Druid, gives us another basic land into play tapped, that then we can, on the next turn, cast like a 5-drop, or just start casting more of our combo pieces with the Eldrazi Displacer. It'll hook up. At that point, we probably have the 2 sources we need for the Displacer, and then we have the Eldrazi Displacer Thought-Knot Seer combo that is looming. So anyway, we're running Cryptolith Rites, by the way. Cryptolith Rites and Evolutionary Leap. We are not running a 1-drop. That's why our Evolving Wilds often will just go and we'll just first turn Kraken Evolving Wilds to go get a basic land. And then I guess we could put some comes into play tap lands in the deck. I just don't really think that we need a lot of basic lands because we have a ton of ways to tutor for them. And so we don't want to run out of targets. So the other scenarios is we have an Elvish Visionary just for an Eldrazi Displacer. We have a Duskwatch Recruiter to utilize the excess mana that we're going to make from Cryptolith Rite and help fill back up our hand. And that way I think we just need a bunch of 1-ofs because of the Eldritch Evolution basically acting like a 4 more copies of every card in our deck. So we have on the 2-drop slots Zulaport Cutthroat, Duskwatch Recruiter, and Elvish Visionary, and the Primal Druids are going to be our primary target for the Eldritch Evolution. Our 3-drops gets a lot more deep here. We have 1 of Reflector Mage for the Eldrazi Displacer combo. We have a 3 of Catacomb Sifter just because they're one of the best ways to stabilize. I really like Catacomb Sifter versus humans and a little bit versus like Green-Black Delirium because it blocks, trades with Tireless Tracker, blocks Sylvan Advocate, and kills the 2/2 Flayer if it doesn't have Delirium quite yet. You also do have the 1/1 token, so against humans you can block a 2/1 and a 2/2, for example, and it's just a miserable for the humans deck to try to combat with like a Catacomb Sifter. The other, we're going to have 3 of Matter Reshapers. I might go down to a 2 of Catacombs and a 4 of Matter Reshaper, but it seemed like we also want to be scrying to find pieces of our deck. We do have a lot of 2s, but we do need to naturally draw into some cards. And we're going to run a 2 of Pilgrim's Eye just because this card is a bit necessary for the deck. Again, this might need to go up in count because Pilgrim's Eye is really a combo with Ishkanah. So Ishkanah does not really have a way to get Delirium in this deck because we don't have instants, except for the Pilgrim's Eye is the way that puts us above the count. So we could get an enchantment, but none of our enchantments want to go to the graveyard. So we're not going to rely on Evolutionary Leap or Cryptolith Rite to be in the graveyard. So what we're going to rely on is a land off of the Evolving Wilds. You know what? In fact, I probably should go up in Evolving Wilds here. So I think I'm just going to cut a Caves. Because we definitely want to see Evolving Wilds like every game. And yeah, I just think I'm going to either cut a Caves or I think we'll just cut a Yavimaya. Yeah, Caves because we want to hit green. So it's just a 1 of Caves in here. A 4, yeah, that should work. So, anywho, we'll have a land in the graveyard, hopefully from Evolving Wilds. We will have a creature in the graveyard and an artifact in the graveyard through Pilgrim's Eye. And then we also have the Evolutionary Leap in the graveyard. It will, on resolution already, be in the graveyard, I believe. Someone correct me if I'm wrong here, but we should have, when Ishkanah enters the battlefield, we should have a sorcery, artifact, creature, and land, hopefully in the graveyard for the Ishkanah route. If not, we can always go just get a Sidisi. Sidisi does need to exploit, but you can exploit the Sidisi herself, or like a scenario that is more likely than that is like a 2-drop into a 3-drop into Eldritch Evolution, killing your 3-drop, getting Sidisi, killing your 2-drop. So, for example, Primal Druid into Matter Reshaper into Eldritch Evolution into Sidisi. Sidisi goes and grabs like another Eldritch Evolution, or you can go grab anything at that point. And then you can probably Eldrazi Displacer, actually. And then that combo with the Sidisi and Eldrazi Displacer is pretty sweet. There's a lot of like tokens we can exploit with the Sidisi, so I thought we should put that in. Where I'm really struggling on is the 4-drop slot, and this is where the community can really help me out if you can think of a good 4-drop besides Thought-Knot Seer. I think Thought-Knot, of course, is the card that we want to see in the 4-drop, but I've got an Eyeless Watcher just because it does what this deck wants, puts 2 more creatures on the battlefield for a Big Pig combo, or the Cryptolith Rite just to run up a lot of mana. And I do have a Vulturous Aven. I thought about the 2/2 that dies and you draw 2 cards. I think that's okay. The one that exploits and looks at the top 4 cards and puts some in your graveyard is okay as well. But I just think the Aven's the best one because you can exploit itself at least if you need to, just to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. So it's a little bit like the Read the Bones in this deck, a little more expensive, but you can tutor for it through the Eldritch Evolution. Again, this can be something that you can go Primal Druid into Vulturous Aven and at least draw 2 more cards off that and ramp yourself up. I mean, that usually isn't a good play, but what I like about Vulturous Aven is that it's on curve too with the Pilgrim's Eye and the Matter Reshaper. So you can cast the Matter Reshaper on turn 3, and then turn 4 you can kill it with the Aven, exploiting the Reshaper, and revealing the top card of your library and drawing 2 cards. So it's just huge card advantage. I've been very impressed with decks that have value because the Pro Tour winning deck was a black-white control deck that tries to outvalue, and I have 100%, almost, it's near 100% win rate with the deck that I played last week against black-white, just because of just the value that it creates. And this deck is going to be very similar. It's going to be hard for a deck to just keep Grasp of Darknessing and ultimate pricing everything when you're just going to get tons of value off everything dying. Catacomb Sifter, for example, gets you at least a 1/1. Matter Reshaper gets you a card. Pilgrim's Eye gets you a card. Primal Druid gets you a card. Visionary's card. Everything else in this deck is going to give you value. So anyway, that's what this deck is going to be really good at beating down. So we want these like card draw cards like the Aven. Sidisi, so we talked about Sidisi and Ishkana. Now we have onto our 6-drop slot because we can sacrifice an Eyeless Watcher or a Vulturous Aven if we have the Eldritch Evolution. So we do want some targets for 6. And I think that the best two, of course, is Brood Monitor. It's part of our combo piece. And Greenwarden, because Greenwarden can then go get back the Eldritch Evolution. So what I really like about the 4-drop slot is you can sacrifice an Eyeless Watcher or an Aven to go get a Greenwarden of Murasa to go get back the Eldritch Evolution, and next turn kill your Greenwarden with Eldritch Evolution, get back your Eldritch Evolution again. I don't know if actually beyond resolution if the spell will be in the graveyard at that point. Someone correct me on this. So then the Greenwarden can go get a Distended Mindbender or an Elder Deep-Fiend. And Elder Deep-Fiend does want to be flashed in. That's why I still have at least just a 1 of in the deck. I don't know if there's a better 8-drop. I was thinking about putting Dragonlord Silumgar in here. Yes, Dragonlord Silumgar. And Dragonlord Dragonlord Atarka. So I thought about either of those also going in the... I think we actually should put a Dragonlord in here. So let's actually cut... Maybe let's cut an Elder Deep-Fiend. Yeah, this guy wants to be main. I think that Silumgar probably does want to be in the main. We'll have to fit it in somewhere here. But for now, either Dragonlord, and I thought about Dragonlord Atarka because it's another thing you can kill off like the Brood Monitor or the Greenwarden off of an Eldritch Evolution and get the Atarka out, which then can wipe a board. But for now, I don't think we need it. I think Dragonlord Silumgar is probably a toolbox card that we want in here. So I don't know, maybe cut like a Thought-Knot or a Reality Smasher or something like that. We'll get to in a second. We'll figure it out. So then topping this out is just Decimator of Provinces is going to be our 10, because then we can sacrifice a Distended Mindbender for the Decimator of Provinces, or if we just draw into a Decimator like a Brood Monitor or something we can easily kill and leave back 3, Ishkana, something we can kill and leave back 3, and that seems to be the sweet spot, is like 4 or 5 cards out and then Decimator, because it gives all, even your Ishkana spiders become 3, so there's 3, 6, 9 with the Decimator. That's 16 damage right there. You have a couple other like stuff still floating around from earlier things. That's another +2/+2 and trample they gain. So usually Decimator you're going to win at, you're going to basically beat the races. So sometimes decks get kind of cluttered, especially in this environment, and Decimator is just that kind of like board state stall breaker. So yeah, we definitely need Dragonlord Silumgar in the main though, I think. I'm not sure that we can either put it inside or main. We'll see. We'll see if we can fit it in. So anyway, the sideboard Reality Smashers are just good against decks that are weak against Reality Smasher. I have a couple more Thought-Knot Seers that we can bring in that are vulnerable to the Thought-Knot Seer. There are plenty of decks that I like to bring these in against ramp. I thought of Pulse of Murasa. It's been my best way to deal with the thermal thing. Gaining 6 life and bringing back like a Matter Reshaper is just absolutely devastating versus that deck. We have a Fleshbag Marauder just as a tutor piece, plus it has good synergy with the Eldrazi Displacer, because you can displace a Fleshbag Marauder and just kill off like a 1/1 token, or if we have anything else that wants to be sacrificed at that point. Fleshbag Marauder has really good synergy also with the Primal Druid, so we could definitely go up in the count of Fleshbag Marauders here. We also have a Dragonlord Dromoka as a 6-drop tutor. So it's just something also flying lifelink against those thermal thing. This is just your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, so they can't like unsubstantiate or flip a thing in the ice over because they can't cast a spell. And it's just backbreaking against those thermo thing type decks. We have a Gilt-Leaf Winnower. Gilt-Leaf Winnower can be tutored up off of a Matter Reshaper and an Eldritch Evolution, or it's another thing that can be flickered off of the good old Eldrazi Displacer and kill anything without uneven power. So it's a great Kalatos killer. It is a really good like Ishkana killer, for example. There are just plenty of uneven. Gisela is an uneven card that you can kill with the Winnower. Lots and lots of cards this can get. Can't get an elf, and that's it. So it's really Sylvan Advocate's the one that it misses. Kills Tireless Trackers, though. So then we have a Dragonlord Ojutai. I like this in the sideboard because there are just some decks that are very, very vulnerable to Dragonlord Ojutai. We'll have to wait and see if this card actually is worthwhile to put in this deck. So anyway, I think that Dragonlord Silumgar does want to be in our 60. So we'd have to cut a card. I'm not quite sure what it'd be. I think our 3-drops are quite loaded. So I'm just gonna cut a Catacomb Sifter, and we're gonna bring in this Dragonlord Silumgar, and that gives us another slot that we can actually tutor up for it. But it makes this kind of 4-drop kind of weird. But we can just naturally just draw or slam down a Dragonlord Silumgar with like the Cryptolith Rite mana we're gonna be getting and whatnot. I would like to this is where I probably need some help thinking about what we'd want at the 4-drop slot, because I'm thinking we want at least one more because I don't like the idea of killing my own Thought-Knot Seer to give my opponent another card to then tutor up for one of these, but I guess that's an option. I think Eyeless Watcher is probably one of the better ones to kill, but maybe just having 3 is fine. Statistically, we'll see it every now and again with the Eldritch Evolution. We usually want to cast Eldritch Evolution at this slot, though, off a 3-drop and then find like a 5-drop, even Sidisi, going Sidisi into it or Ishkana into it. Like, Sidisi's kind of cool because then you can go get another Eldritch Evolution. So I'm thinking that yeah, even killing the Sidisi for a Dragonlord Silumgar is probably okay. Or at that point, we've probably ramped up to it. So I don't know. I do think that Dragonlord Silumgar wants to be in our main, though. So I don't know if we want to go back up to the Catacomb Sifters or not. It's just kind of this is pretty loaded right here at this slot. So again, this is anything but fine-tuned or refined. I think that it will take a lot of playtesting. These are my favorite decks. People have asked me that question before. What do you like to play? Do you like to play aggro? Do you like to play control? Do you like to play combo? No, I like to play synergy. It's my own defined category, I guess. Just where all the cards in the entire deck synergize. These toolbox decks are my favorite type of decks in Magic the Gathering. It gives you so many options to crawl your way out of weird situations. Oh, one last card I like to talk about in the sideboard is Profaner. Again, there's some decks that I think that Profaner is just going to save our butts, and I think that is good versus like humans. And it's really not that many decks right now in the format, but it at least can. If we just actually exploit itself, it just kind of resets the board and stabilizes us versus those human-based decks. It's another 4-drop too that we can exploit like an early Primal Druid or Pilgrim's Eye or Matter Reshaper, and then that's another card that we can actually Eldritch Evolution into the 6-drop slot. So anyway, I hope that you guys would test some other 4-drops, 5-drops, see what else works for you. If Ishkana doesn't work, let me know. I think that this deck has a lot of interesting interactions with it and should be fun at least at a Friday Night Magic. I don't think it might be good enough to win a Pro Tour or a Grand Prix, but it should be good enough to win a Friday Night Magic and have a lot of fun in the process. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.